All right, so now that we have a good understanding of what cultural humility is, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about what it looks like in practice. The quote that I've included here really illustrates what cultural humility is and what it's not. So it says, when we practice cultural humility, we leave our heart open to continue to listen, learn, and grow, as opposed to thinking that we will someday be competent in someone's culture and experiences. So the first half of the quote recognizes the fact that cultural humility is not just a skill that we can check off as being something that we're competent in. It's a lifelong journey. And then the second half of the quote is really the beautiful part of cultural humility, which is the fact that we're never going to know it all. We're never going to be fully competent in someone else's experiences or culture. And that's not to say that we shouldn't be knowledgeable and aware of various cultures and the experiences and challenges of certain communities, but it's just coming back to the fact that it's not possible to know it all. I think a good way of illustrating this is through the example of a doctor within a healthcare setting. So, as a doctor, we would hope that they would know about treatment efficacy for various populations or the prevalence of certain illnesses within different communities. We'd also hope that the doctor would not make assumptions or generalizations based on this knowledge. And we would hope that the doctor would listen to patients with interest and curiosity in order to understand that person's unique experience of health and illness. Now, there's 4 components of cultural humility that are really important for integrating it into our practice. The first one is compassionate self-reflection and self-awareness. So this involves thinking about how your lived experience influences how you see others. It's about being aware of what you might not know and not being so hard on yourself when you get it wrong. The next piece is responding with curiosity. Then there's being open and teachable, which involves acknowledging and being ready to learn about the experiences and beliefs of others. And then the last one is relationship building. So focusing on building relationships based on mutual trust. And another important nugget of information that has to do with cultural humility is that when we say that we're open and don't make assumptions, that also means not assuming that culture is an important aspect of someone's identity or that it's even important to bring up in the conversation that you're having. I've included this image of the cultural iceberg because it really forces us to think more deeply about how culture influences how we understand ourselves, how we understand others, and how we live in relationship with other people. So the more surface level understandings of culture are around things like food. What do people like to eat? What food do they think is delicious? What food do they think is gross? What holidays do they celebrate? What dances do they do? What music do they listen to? But if we dig a bit deeper, we can see how culture really influences so many aspects of life. So what facial expression do you expect someone to make when they tell you exciting news or you tell them exciting news? What gestures do people make when they're talking? How much eye contact is someone supposed to give when you're having a conversation with them? How do you understand yourself? How do you understand your relationship to your friends and family? How do you expect a child to interact with elders? What do we think about children in our society? So there's all these other pieces that are such normal parts of everyday life that we don't really think about how much culture influences how we understand these things, how we understand ourselves, and how we understand others. In the next video, I'm going to go over a case example of what it looks like to integrate cultural humility into our interactions when supporting families.